So today we're going to be building a box using Shaper this time. So once again, we're going to create. This time we're going to click on Shaper. You immediately notice our menu on the side looks a lot different. We've got different shapes to pick from. We can draw lines to make 2D shapes that we can then turn into 3D shapes. We can put text in. We can import a shape from an already made STL file, and you can buy blocks. We're not going to be worrying about those today. Once again, we've got the colors, got a workspace. You'll notice we don't have a Z axis, so the up and down height this time. We've just got a depth and a width. We're setting our width to 150 millimeters and our depth to 100 millimeters, and we've got our block here. So I'm going to start off, we're just going to up the top, we're making that same box. I'm going to drop in a block, and you'll see our arrows here, reset, reinsert, stretch, so we can make our block. And you can see it's quite accurate this time, going into 0.2.1 of a millimeter. So we're getting very fine numbers that we have here. You notice we're increasing it over the x-axis and the y-axis, but we can't do the z-axis, which is up and down. So if we turn our board, now we're moving up and down and left and right. So you notice as I hold it, the 24.5 millimeters in the blue, that's telling you your z-axis and height, and the 54.5 millimeters is telling you your x-axis. It's good to remember, red is x-axis, blue is z-axis. We turn and look at the top, we've got another color green, and that green is your y-axis. It's going to be important to remember x and y and the colors that match, because it'll just make our changes that we make later easier to understand. Now, if instead of dragging, I click on that box, I get precision. So this is where the Shaper is much superior to Blocker. And straight away, we were making a box that was 150 millimeters long. We were making a box that was 70 millimeters wide, and our box was without that lip on the top. I'm going to make a box 55 millimeters long. And there you can see, I'm going to zoom out so we can see it all. We've got a box. You see how some of it's below that dotted line? That means it's below where we'd normally print. And what we can do though is, once again, we can easily move it around. And if we set our Z to 0, that means it's sitting right on the base. And let's set them all to 0. Ooh, I clicked out of it. So once again, clicking on the arrows, size, I'm going to move, click them all to 0. And now you can see my box is in the middle of my dotted white line, which is my print area. Probably looking at it and saying, but that's just a solid cube. That's not a box. I can't put anything else in there. What we're going to do, we're going to change our colors, and we're going to grab another block. If we click on the menu, the 3 lines, we bring up some options, and we're going to look at this option here called cut. Okay, you'll see here it says cut. Choose if you want to make a hole with the shape or keep the bits that overlap. Okay, we're going to be using the hole feature today. And what you'll see, if I move this block in, you can see that it's sticking inside my red cube now. So if I click on my cut, I want it as a hole there, so you can see how it's grayed out. I've got the solid, and click tick. You can see in the middle there, I've got a hole in my block. So now we need to be doing some maths. If my block is 150 millimeters long, and we have 5 millimeter thick walls, that means the cutout, we have to minus 5 millimeters from one end, 5 millimeters from the other end, so that would make it 140 millimeters. I'm going to click on that. We're still in precision, so I want my X to be 140 millimeters. Okay, now my Y, if it was 70 millimeters wide, we want 5 millimeters, taking off 5 millimeters from either side. For our green block, this is going to be 60 millimeters. Now our Z is how tall we want to do it. Normally, if we go, we just want to remove, have a 5 millimeter layer on the bottom, we'd have 50. But what will happen is when I move this block down and I move it inside, you can see it's completely inside the red, and now I can't select it again for where I've moved it to turn it into a cutout. So what we get, I'll undo that and I'll select it again. So for our Z height, I'm just going to make it 80. Okay, because that means it's going to, when I stick out the top, and I'll always be able to click on it. So here, once again, we're being precise. We set these all to 0 again. And you can see it's sitting in the middle, but it's going to be sitting flat on the base as well. So I want to raise it up 5 millimeters. So we've got a 5 millimeter gap on each side. And this gap at the bottom here is 5 millimeters. You'll notice we don't have any of the white numbers around the outside like in Blocker. You're going to be finding all your precisions, all your measurements in this tab when you click on our resize, restretch. So I click our green block, menu, cutout, we want a hole, and we click OK, and we're done. You'll notice once you've done that cutout, that block's gone. I can't go, oh, I did it wrong, let me adjust it. You'll have to undo and do it again because we have made a mistake. Well, I've made a mistake. We forgot about the lip that we're going to have to put on the inside. So I'm going to go back because remember our walls are actually 1 centimeter thick. So I just can decrease these by 5 more mils, and now I can cut it out and we're done. So that's one of the beauties of Shaper, how quickly we could adjust the size of things. Now all that's left to do is put our edge around the outside. There's a couple of ways we could do that. We could create our block. So you can drag it up to the top where we can manipulate it a bit easier. Go precision. We want it to go along the edge here. So we're just going to have that 5 mil edge around the outside, so it'll be 140 long, 60 wide, and this time we're only having it 5 mil high. And now we need to place it on the top. So you can see it's quite, the measurements when I'm moving on the side here are how far off you are in the middle. So, and it's quite fiddly to move them. So that's where our precision can come in. So I want it 55 up from the base. That'll put it on top. We want it 0 and 0. We'll have a look. Let's put it right in the middle. And then we can get a change in color. Get another block. Okay, we're going to go 5 millimeters smaller again. So this time 135. Now 5 millimeters from each end. So 130 millimeters. It'll be 50 wide. And our Z we're keeping, so we don't lose it and it disappears in, so we can't see it. We'll make it 20 millimeters thick. Remember, this is going to be a cutout. So we position it and we're going to drop the Z down to 50 millimeters. So you can see now it's dropped below the edge of the green and the red. And we look from the top, it's in the middle there. And so I click back, click my menu, click our circles, it's a hole and it's cut out. And you can see I've built the same boxes we did before, and you'll notice this is now been molded together as one complete shape. And we can go in and check our dimensions. 60 millimeters high, 70 millimeters wide, and 150 millimeters long. And that's it. You have finished making your box. As you can see, much quicker, but there are a few tricks to do in there. You might have to go back, rewatch a few parts of the video as you go through. Okay, hope you enjoyed that and give yourselves the challenge of building the lid for the box in a new project using Shaper. Good luck. As always, when you finish, I'm going to call this one Shaper Box. And if I look in my designs, I can go in and edit it if I wish. Okay. Good luck with your building. Have some fun.